You are sitting in your office looking at your gross income versus your net pay, and for the first time, the numbers actually make you feel sick to your stomach. You hit the six-figure mark, but after the tax man takes his 30% cut, you realize that you are essentially an unpaid employee of the government from January until the middle of May every single year. While you are struggling to afford a modest lifestyle, the multi-billion-dollar corporations that own the system are using legal loopholes and offshore havens to ensure their effective tax rate is exactly zero. Welcome to the tax matrix, where the middle class is the primary fuel for a bureaucratic machine that provides zero loyalty to your future and zero respect for your labor. The math is fundamentally broken because the tax code was not written to fund society. It was written by the people who own the capital to ensure that the people who provide the labor never accumulate enough wealth to escape the treadmill. The system wants you focused on paying your fair share because as long as you are emotionally tied to the idea of civic duty, you will never stop to ask why the billionaire class is living a tax-free life in broad daylight. They do not earn an income in the way you do. They own assets and borrow against them, effectively bypassing the entire taxation funnel while you trade your limited hours for depreciating paper that is taxed before it even hits your bank account. You are witnessing a systematic liquidation of the working class, where your productivity is being harvested to fund endless debt and institutional bailouts that you never voted for. In 2026, the tax trap is the final gate of the financial matrix, and if you do not understand the math of asset protection, you are essentially volunteering to be a high-end serf for the rest of your existence. Think about the psychological heist of the tax refund, because this is where the elite give you back a tiny fraction of the interest-free loan you gave them all year and expect you to be grateful for it. They have successfully gamified your own exploitation, making you celebrate a small check that has already been hollowed out by 15% inflation. True wealth is not found in a paycheck that the IRS can freeze at a whim, but in the ownership of structures and hard assets that remain invisible to the institutional eye. The architects of the system are building private vaults for their own capital, while they encourage you to live in a transparent digital cloud where every dollar you earn is recorded and harvested in real time. It is time to wake up and see the tax code for what it really is, a sophisticated blueprint for your compliance and your eventual financial death. The system has successfully convinced you that selling your labor for an hourly wage is the most honorable way to live, while the math clearly shows that labor is the most heavily taxed activity in the modern economy. When you earn $1 through your sweat and your time, the government takes its cut first, but when a billionaire earns $1 through capital gains or asset appreciation, they pay a fraction of what you do, or often nothing at all. The architects of the Matrix have designed a world where the people who do the work fund the entire infrastructure, while the people who own the assets reap all the rewards without contributing to the maintenance of the society they exploit. You are trading your non-renewable life force for a paycheck that is hollowed out before it even reaches your pocket, ensuring that you remain in a perpetual state of financial survival while the elite use your tax dollars to subsidize their own global expansion. Think about the psychological heist of the buy, borrow, die strategy, because this is how the top 1% lives a tax-free life in broad daylight while you are audited for a $500 deduction. They buy assets that grow in value, they borrow against those assets to fund their luxury lifestyle, and then they die leaving the assets to their heirs with a stepped-up basis that wipes out the tax liability forever. They are essentially using the banking system as a private, untaxable ATM, while you are forced to report every cent of your income to a government that views your productivity as its own property. The math is broken, because you are playing a game of income while the masters are playing a game of equity, and as long as you are focused on your salary, you will never be allowed to join the ranks of the truly free. The corporate tax code is a masterpiece of legal fiction designed to ensure that the largest entities in the world pay less in taxes than the person cleaning their office floors. Through a complex web of accelerated depreciation research credits and offshore shell companies, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate can report record profits to its shareholders while reporting a massive loss to the IRS. You are witnessing a systematic extraction of wealth where the small business owner is crushed by regulations and payroll taxes, while the global giants are handed billions in subsidies and tax breaks to keep the machine running. In 2026, the tax matrix has become so distorted that the average middle-class family is effectively the primary financier of a corporate state that has zero loyalty to their economic sovereignty. Your payroll tax is perhaps the most sinister trap of them all because it is a direct tax on your existence that you are told is an investment in your future security. They take a percentage of every hour you work and tell you it is for your retirement, but in reality, they are using that cash today to pay off the interest on a national debt that can never be settled. You are participating in a government-mandated Ponzi scheme where the early participants were paid with real value while you are being promised a payout in a devalued currency that will buy almost nothing by the time you reach the finish line. The system doesn't want you to realize that you are paying for a safety net that is being shredded in real time by the same people who are promising to protect you. Inflation is the ultimate shadow tax that works in perfect harmony with the tax matrix to ensure that even when you win, you still lose. When the government prints money to fund its massive spending, it devalues your savings and pushes you into higher tax brackets through a process known as bracket creep. You get a raise to keep up with the rising cost of living, but that raise puts you in a higher percentage of wealth extraction, effectively giving you a lower quality of life for more hours of labor. This is the closed loop of financial slavery, where the more you earn, the more the system takes, and the less your remaining dollars can actually buy. It is a relentless pincer movement designed to prevent the middle class from ever accumulating enough liquid capital to walk away from the corporate plantation. Think about the hidden tax of real estate depreciation, because this is the primary engine of wealth for the elite that is completely unavailable to the average wage earner. A wealthy investor can buy a skyscraper or an apartment complex and use paper losses to wipe out all the rental income they receive, ensuring that their cash flow remains entirely untaxed. You are paying rent with after-tax dollars to a landlord who is paying zero tax on that same income because the system views their asset as a business while it views your labor as a liability. The math of 2026 is engineered to reward the ownership of property and punish the effort of individuals, making it nearly impossible to climb the ladder of wealth without already owning the rungs. The death tax or inheritance tax is the final toll booth of the matrix, ensuring that your decades of struggle do not result in a generational legacy for your children. You spend your life paying income, tax sales, tax property tax, and capital gains tax only to have the government show up at your funeral to take another massive cut of what remains. In the United States and the United Kingdom, the transfer of wealth from one generation to the next is one of the most heavily regulated events in the human experience, designed to keep the middle class from ever building enough momentum to compete with the established bloodlines of the elite. You are essentially a temporary custodian of wealth that is destined to flow back into the pockets of the bureaucracy unless you understand the Hufia blueprints of trusts and foundations that the 1% use to protect their dynasties. Sales tax and consumption taxes are the primary tools used to ensure that the poor and the middle class are taxed on the very act of survival. Every time you buy a gallon of milk or a pair of shoes, you are paying a percentage to the state, regardless of whether you have any net worth or any financial security. These regressive taxes hit the person earning $30,000 a year much harder than the person earning $30 million, effectively increasing the cost of existence for those who can least afford it. The elite understand that as long as the cost of basic needs is inflated by taxation, the masses will stay focused on short-term survival and never have the mental bandwidth to question the larger blueprints of their exploitation. The complex tax code is not a bug of the system. It is a feature designed to create a barrier to entry that only the wealthy can afford to bypass. By making the rules thousands of pages long and intentionally vague, the system ensures that the average citizen is always in a state of potential non-compliance, which makes them easy to manage through fear and audits. The elite hire armies of lawyers and accountants to navigate this maze, while you are left to struggle with a software program that doesn't tell you the real secrets of wealth protection. It is a war of information where the weapons are legal definitions and the casualties are the bank accounts of the middle class. Sovereignty begins with the realization that the tax code is a menu where the rich choose the discount while you are forced to pay the full price. Lobbying and political contributions are the ultimate investment for the billionaire class because they provide a return on investment that no stock market can match. By spending a few $1 million on political campaigns, the elite can ensure that the tax code is rewritten to favor their Maxus industries, resulting in billions of dollars in tax savings. You are essentially a passive bystander in a game where the rules are bought and sold by the highest bidder while you are expected to follow them without question. The math is broken because the legal system has been captured by the people it was designed to regulate, ensuring that the burden of funding the state stays firmly on the shoulders of those who have the least amount of political influence. The opportunity cost of the taxes you pay throughout your life is the true price of your submission, because it represents the decades of freedom you could have purchased for yourself. If you took the 30% of your income that goes to the state and invested it into productive hard assets for 40 years, you would be looking at millions of dollars of net worth that would belong entirely to you. Instead, that wealth is used to fund endless wars, foreign aid, and institutional waste that provides zero value to your family's future. You are trading the best years of your life to fund the expansion of a system that is actively working to diminish your individual power. It is time to stop viewing taxation as an inevitability and start seeing it as a direct extraction of your time and your sovereignty. The shift to a digital cashless society is the final trapdoor of the tax matrix, because it ensures that every single transaction you make is recorded and harvested in real time. In a world of CBDCs and digital ledgers, there will be no more private trade, no more side hustles, and no more financial privacy for the individual. The system will have a front row seat to your every move, ensuring that any attempt to protect your wealth results in an immediate restriction of your purchasing power. The elite are building private, decentralized networks for their own capital while they push the masses into a digital panopticon where every dollar you earn is instantly split with the state. True freedom is the ability to trade without permission, and the Matrix is working day and night to ensure that permission is the only thing you have left. My name is John, and I have dedicated my life to deconstructing these blueprints because I am tired of seeing the most hardworking and intelligent people in society being treated as a crop to be harvested by the technocratic elite. The tax matrix is one of the most effective cages ever built because it is invisible until you try to move, and it is justified by a social contract that only applies to you, not to the people at the top. It is time to wake up and see the math for what it really is. A systematic liquidation of your potential for the benefit of an institution that has zero loyalty to your humanity. Stop being an unpaid tax collector for a system that hates you and start being the architect of your own financial destiny. The only way to win a rigged game is to stop playing by their rules and start building your own exit strategy based on the ownership of hard assets and the understanding of legal structures. This means moving your wealth out of the digital matrix and into things that the government cannot easily track or tax into oblivion. Physical gold, fertile land, and private businesses are the remaining lifeboats in a sinking fiat ocean that is being swallowed by the taxman. You must prioritize the ownership of your own time and the development of skills that provide tangible value regardless of what the legislature decides to do next. It is better to have a smaller life that you control completely than a large life that is owned by the IRS and the banks. Subscribe to this channel and join me as we continue to tear down the illusions of the modern economy and build a blueprint for a future that is actually based on the truth of mathematics and the reality of freedom. We are at the end of an old economic cycle, and the people who are tied to the status symbols of the past and the traditional tax models will be the ones who suffer the most in the upcoming reset. My name is John, and the heist ends the moment you decide to wake up and stop serving the interests of the elite through your high-interest labor. It is time to take back your wealth, your time, and your life one lesson at a time, because nobody is going to give you your sovereignty for free. Let us get to work on your exit strategy, because the window is closing and the system will not warn you when the trap finally snaps shut. True security is not found in a government promise or a corporate benefit package, but in the absolute ownership of your own energy and the control of the assets that sustain your life. You have been told a lie that you are a citizen with rights, but the math shows you are a tenant with liabilities. It is time to flip the script and start building a legacy that the Matrix cannot touch. My name is John, and this is the blueprint for your survival in the age of the tax matrix. The math is broken, but your future doesn't have to be, if you start playing a different game today. I have shown you the salary trap, the housing heist, the credit matrix, and now the tax scam, because information is the only weapon that can break the digital chains. Take this knowledge and use it to build a wall of assets between you and the institutions that want to harvest your life's work. The reset is coming, but for those who are prepared, it is an opportunity. For those who are asleep, it is the end of everything they know. Subscribe and stay tuned as we continue to deconstruct the financial matrix one layer at a time. Welcome to the side of truth. Welcome to John Invests.